Grant and Lisa had been married for 18 years, a journey that he once believed was the destiny of two kindred souls. During the first 6 years, they lived a simple, happy life, unpretentious but full of meaning. They had 3 children, 2 of whom were twins, little angels who became the center of their world. The family settled in a peaceful suburb, where quiet streets stretched out beside neatly trimmed lawns. Grant often reminisced about those early days with particular fondness. At night, a calm stillness enveloped their home, offering a sense of safety, as if they were living inside a protective bubble where bad things could never reach them. Every day after work, Grant would return home to the sound of laughter echoing through the rooms. Lisa, with her radiant smile, would often greet him in the hallway with a warm hug, sometimes accompanied by humorous complaints about changing diapers or preparing dinner. Those moments seemed to paint a perfect picture. The cries of the twins in their cribs, mingled with the toddling steps of their eldest child around the living room, created a vibrant family soundtrack. Grant remembered the sense of contentment when he saw Lisa caring for the children, her hands swiftly moving between daily tasks, her eyes sparkling with love. Everything seemed too ideal, to the point where he could never have imagined that happiness would shatter so quickly. But then, everything changed because of a decision Lisa made the year before, one she made without consulting him. That decision tore apart their marriage, leaving Grant with the pain of betrayal, a burning fury, and an insatiable thirst for revenge. If someone had told him that Lisa's loyalty could be so fragile, he would have laughed at them. But the truth was, loyalty could vanish in an instant when one person decided that their partner no longer mattered. It all started with a fateful night a year ago when Lisa unexpectedly revealed a decision that would completely alter their lives. Grant still vividly remembered that moment, as if it were etched in his mind. They were sitting on the sofa, the space between them seemed to separate them even though their bodies were only a few inches apart. A comedy show was on TV, the flickering light from the screen casting shadows on the wall, but neither of them was paying attention. Lisa held her phone, her eyes briefly meeting his before she spoke in an eerily calm tone. "Grant, there's something I've decided to do." Her calm tone immediately put him on alert. He knew Lisa too well. She only used that tone when she was about to announce something significant, something she had already decided on and didn't care about his opinion. Grant muted the TV and turned toward her, a sense of anxiety rising in his chest. "What is it?" "You seem so serious," he asked, trying to keep his voice steady, though his stomach had begun to twist. Lisa tucked a lock of hair behind her ear, her eyes never leaving his. "I'm going to be a surrogate for Sarah," she replied, her voice flat as if discussing a trip to the grocery store. Grant blinked, his head spinning. "What do you mean?" he asked again, trying to understand. Lisa sighed, explaining that Sarah, her twin sister, and her husband Kevin had been infertile for years after multiple failed IVF attempts. The doctor had suggested surrogacy, and since Lisa shared the same DNA as Sarah, she considered herself the perfect candidate. She had contacted the clinic and started the process without telling him a word. Grant's heart raced, anger beginning to simmer. He interrupted, his voice choking. "Lisa, are you telling me that you're carrying Kevin's baby?" Lisa sighed again, correcting herself, "Sarah and Kevin's baby. I'm just the surrogate, not the biological mother." But for Grant, that didn't change the fact that she had secretly made this earth-shattering decision behind his back, and that betrayal was suffocating. The moment Lisa publicly shared her intention to be a surrogate, the air in the room thickened. Grant felt anger flare up in his chest, hot and sharp like a knife's edge. He tried to suppress it, but his voice still shook when he asked again, "You're telling me you discussed this with Kevin and didn't even tell me?" Lisa sighed, her eyes flashing with irritation. "Sarah is my twin sister," she replied, her tone firm. "I couldn't watch her suffer. Kevin and I discussed it, and I'm sure this is what I want to do." Hearing her mention Kevin, another man, her sister's husband, rather than him, her husband of 18 years, felt like a stab to Grant's heart. He repeated bitterly, "You and Kevin discussed it, that's great. And me, your husband, only found out in the end?" Lisa raised her chin, her eyes challenging. "I knew you'd overreact. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, but I was afraid you'd stop me." This is my body, Grant, and I'm doing it whether you agree or not. Her words were like throwing gasoline on a fire. Grant's throat tightened, his anger transforming into something colder, deeper. So, you want me to accept you carrying someone else's baby, right in our own home, and I'm supposed to be happy about it? He asked, his voice low, nearly a whisper. Lisa set the phone down and crossed her arms. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm doing this for Sarah and Kevin. If you love me, you'll respect my decision. Grant went silent, the cold stillness surrounding him. Respect is not something you get when you deceive your husband, he said, each word feeling like it was carved from ice. Lisa stood up, her shoulders stiff, throwing back. If you don't see how important this is, maybe I've overestimated you. She walked away, leaving Grant with simmering anger and an irreparable crack in their marriage. After that fateful argument, the air in the house grew suffocating, as if every corner was saturated with tension. Grant felt his heart pounding, blood rushing to his ears as Lisa walked away, leaving him with an indescribable pain. He sat there, alone on the sofa, the lifeless flicker of the TV casting shadows as he tried to breathe through the rage, but it only intensified. Lisa's decision wasn't just a personal choice, it was a knife to the trust they had built over 18 years. He told himself to stay calm, but deep down, he knew everything had changed forever. The following days were a relentless stream of tension. Lisa began talking about doctor appointments, fertility drugs, embryo transfer schedules, all of it recounted as if it were just a normal part of their day. Grant felt his gut twist, each word from her like a hammer hitting the already fractured wall of their marriage. He could hardly bear to see her preparing to carry Kevin's child, a man who had never been a part of their family like this before. 2 nights after her announcement, he walked into the kitchen and saw a box from the fertility clinic in the fridge, vials of medicine, syringes, and instruction papers scattered across the table. Lisa sat there, flipping through a thick binder, her gaze focused as if working on an important project. What is this? Grant asked, his voice sharp as he pointed to the pile of items on the table. Lisa looked up, momentarily surprised by his harsh tone. Hormone therapy, she replied, her voice calm, as if nothing unusual was happening. I need to start taking it so my body's ready for the embryo transfer. The clinic sent it earlier than expected. Grant stared at her, a mix of disbelief and anger stirring inside him. You don't think this is something we should discuss? He growled. Lisa shrugged, as though he was overreacting. I've already told you, we don't need another discussion. I'm going ahead with this. Her words felt like a slap in Grant's face, and he knew from that moment on, their marriage had entered a dead end. The tension between Grant and Lisa wasn't just in their words, it had seeped into every moment in the house that had once been their home. Grant felt like he was living with a stranger, someone he no longer recognized after 18 years of marriage. Lisa's voice, once sweet and warm, now sounded cold whenever she mentioned the surrogacy. He stood at the kitchen doorway, watching her arrange the hormone vials on the table, her hands moving with unhesitating determination. The presence of needles and instruction papers from the clinic was a vivid reminder that she had chosen this path without him. You're completely disregarding my feelings, he said, his voice low but trembling with restraint. Don't you see you're pushing me away? Lisa looked up, her eyes flashing with annoyance. Stop overreacting, Grant, she said, as if he were just a child throwing a tantrum. This is just 9 months. After I give birth, the baby will belong to Sarah. I'm not replacing our children with another one. I'm helping my sister. But to Grant, her justification held no weight. You can justify it however you want, he spat, but if you do this, I swear I won't stay in this marriage. Lisa smirked, her voice rising. I told you, I'm doing it for Sarah. If you don't understand, then we have nothing left to say. She turned back to her paperwork, as if he no longer existed. Grant stood there, his fists clenched, a mix of helplessness and fury swirling inside him, knowing that from this moment on, nothing could save the love they once had. The days passed with increasing tension, and as the day of Lisa's labor approached, she still held on to